The Bible teaches that humans are God's created stewards of the earth. God has designed the social life of humans in such a way that through the ownership of property, people are motivated to greater stewardship. On the basic level, the Christian worldview holds to an economic system that respects private property and a proper work ethic. Irving E. Howard wrote that the commandment, "Thou shalt not steal," is the clearest declaration of the right to private property in the Old Testament. In fact, private ownership and stewardship of property is assumed and defended throughout the Scriptures.
Biblically, we have the basis for an economic system that recognizes a right in individuals to own property, and ownership entails control, as we can learn from other parts of Scripture. For instance, one of the Israelites' kings at one time wanted a piece of property for doing sacrifice. It was a vineyard owned by a man named Naboth, and it became clear, we're told in the text of Scripture, that the king could not take that property for his use as king without paying Naboth. Thus, Scripture affirms the right to private property even over against claims by the state.
The Bible clearly calls for ownership of property. This right to property stems from the duty to work. God has decreed that people work for their livelihood. He designed a world where adhering to this duty is rewarded. Thus, the existence of private property encourages people to be fruitful.
One of the reasons why the economies of heavily socialist states like the Soviet Union and Communist China and Cuba failed is because no one could be held accountable under those systems. There was no advantage for people working harder to produce more foodstuffs, for example, if that was only going to be confiscated by the government. And so we know from the example of what happened in countries like the Soviet Union or Cuba, that when those states gave people incentives so that if they grew more products than they were required to, or if they were given little plots of land, they always produced more foodstuffs on their private plots of land than they did on the communal farm.
God is the creator of all things, but He has designed the world in such a way that humans are His stewards of it. God grants people private ownership of His creation, but people are accountable to Him for the way they use their property. Because of this, Christians have a duty to use their property wisely. Property is not intended to merely be hoarded or to simply be taken away. Rather, under the direction of God, humans are to work, be rewarded for their work, enjoy these rewards, and serve others as well.
The marketplace has an inescapably civilizing effect upon those who want to participate in it. If, for example, you're a pharmacist and you want to make a living in pharmacy, you're going to have to do some things that maybe you don't like doing. You're going to have to go to work on time. You're going to have to offer your services and your products at a price that people can pay. You're going to have to be courteous, even to people that are irritating to you. You have to be the sort of man that people enjoy dealing with and who they will come back to, the sort of person that they're going to have confidence in. If they have even the slightest suspicion that you're abusing them, they'll go to some other pharmacist. That is, what I'm saying is that the marketplace will make you act as if you were a civil and giving person, even if you're not. That is, the marketplace won't change your heart. It won't change your mind, but it will change your actions. It will make you act as if your mind and heart had been changed.
Whereas some humanistic economic systems demand economic equality for every person, the Bible contradicts this belief. As the Apostle Paul wrote to the Thessalonians, "For even when we were with you, we gave you this rule: if a man will not work, he will not eat." While this may appear unfair to many Christians, justice requires that each person be rewarded according to their work. Skills and dedication are naturally rewarded with greater pay. Thus, justice will necessarily lead to economic inequality, since some will work harder and some will not work at all.
The biblical worldview calls not only for the right to private property, but for people to be good stewards of their property. It also teaches that people should use their private property to serve God and others. This view of economics is the best way in which to create wealth and opportunity for the poor.